What's up, guys? AG Sports. We're back, and I lied. I totally lied to you yesterday. I said that was going to be like it for the picks, and I thought it was not lying at the time. I truly thought, like, okay, I've kind of capped out everything that I can for this week, but DVOA changed. Everything got updated this morning. Like I said yesterday, it was not completely concrete just yet yesterday. Again, a lot of the teams that we usually handicap, they were on a bye week, so there wasn't really a lot of changes there. But the teams that did play last week, their DVOA did get updated. And with that, with more concrete information, solid information coming out, I did take some more action, 2 more plays. We're going to get right into that. Before I start that and the whole handicapping thing and filling your brain with all these numbers, I want to lead off with just some little nuggets real quick. First, the Baker Mayfield issue with quarterback. I know Baker has been ruled out. He's going to be out probably for a little while. I wouldn't be surprised if he's gone for like 4+ weeks at this point. He needs his like rotator cuff corrected, and he's got some sort of like broken bone or something in his arm. I don't know. I don't even know how he was holding the ball, honestly, but he's got some issues, so he's going to have to get miss a bunch of time. Case Keenum, his replacement, last week obviously went against the Broncos. They won. And I don't want to take too much out of this because he was playing the Broncos. And like I said yesterday, the Broncos are like number 24 in defense by DVOA. So that does have something to do with it. But their play, Baker had a QBR of 41.6 as of his last game. Case Keenum, in the one game he's had, has a QBR of 45.1. So again, maybe it is just the defense, but another thing that I looked at, the Cleveland Browns had lost all of their games against heavy blitzing teams. This is with Baker. The Broncos are also a heavy blitzing team. They blitz over 30% of the time in case Keenum was able to get them the win. Now, I'm not saying that Baker loses that game necessarily. Maybe he was able to still pull it out. We'll never know. But the fact of the matter is, something we do know is that Baker does not do great under pressure. And in the one game that we saw with Case Keenum, he was able to either elude that pressure or get the ball out fast enough to not have to worry about it. And in different plays were different circumstances. But at the end of the day, he beat that blitz. He beat that heavy blitz rate. And that is one Achilles heel that the Browns had. And that's what a lot of teams are doing to them. We're just blitzing the hell out of them. And that's actually how the Chiefs beat them in week 1. So, Case Keenum seems to be a pretty big increase for them, and maybe it's just Case Keenum over an injured Baker. Maybe a healthy Baker is better than healthy Case Keenum, but as of right now, it's probably about 50-50. So, I say that not really because it's going to be a pick this week or anything like that. We had the under in the game for this week, which is the Steelers and the Browns. I still believe in that under. I'm not moving out with that at all. I'm just saying, moving forward, this is something to take note of. If you thought that maybe a game was going to be kind of a coin flip with Baker or with injured Baker, we're now going to give the nod to Case Keenum. That all being said, one other thing I want to bring up, and this is more for fantasy, so I apologize. I know we like to stick with more gambling topics here, but something I hear a lot, especially right around this time of year, like the middle of the season, is that you are waiting for a player who's maybe had like a down year so far, has just been kind of so-so, to have a big blow-up game, right? To have this huge, like, hey, wait till he has that 100-yard, 2-touchdown game or whatever, and then try to trade him. Then you want to try and get rid of him. And, like, that makes sense on paper, right? But what fantasy leagues are out there that don't show you the previous week's results? Because if I don't know, let's say I'm on ESPN and I use their platform and somebody sends me a trade offer, the first thing I'm going to do is click on that player's name and I'm going to look at his results for the entire season. And if I notice it goes 4, 4, 4, 6, 3, 2, 4, 20, yeah, I'm probably going to be like, okay, I'm not, it's not as maybe alluring as you thought it was. That's like the first thing everybody does, right? Is you go back and look through his history, because everybody knows when somebody has a big week, especially if they're like a top 3 player. Like most people know, Damian Harris had a big week last week. He was 1 going against the Jets, and then 2, he got 2 touchdowns. So yeah, if you're trying to trade that guy away right now, I mean, he's not a bad player, but to be like, oh well, he's gonna continuously do this, it's just not in the cards. And most, if not everybody, knows that. Unless you're playing with people who just like don't watch football or don't care, or maybe it's their first year really getting invested into NFL. Like I don't know who that message is for. So every time I hear that in like a fantasy podcast or anything, it just like irks the shit out of me, because I'm like, who's doing that? And I don't want to be that like a not in my league guy. But seriously, like, in what league can you do that? In what league can you offer somebody who had 1 big week and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get like Dalvin Cook and Derrick Henry back for this guy because he had a 30-point week this week? I don't see it. Anyways, that's all said and done. I just need to get my little spiel out because I don't have anybody at home that's like really into football. So I need to get, talk to you guys. You're my family now. So I'm going to give you everything that's pissing me off for the week. That being said, let's get into the picks. 49ers and Bears. At first, I didn't really want to touch this game. It started off, and in a lot of places I had, it was like -3.5 for the 49ers. So that was first thing. I was like, I don't really want to lay that side of it, and I don't really want to buy the points for that game. I'm not too interested in the 49ers. And then secondly, I was like, the 49ers just hadn't really looked good, and I'm definitely not putting anything on the Bears. And then one thing I did notice with this team, and it's actually why we bet the under. Sorry, I had to check something. The under was on the tees. So the 49ers Bears under 45 was the tees. But the reason for that was the defensive line of the 49ers, especially with Nick Bosa, is really just, it should be able to get to Justin Fields and just tear up that Bears offensive line. If you watched the Bears last week, I'm sorry if you heard me yesterday, but I'm going to repeat it anyways. That offensive line could not keep anybody off of Justin Fields. He was constantly running for his life, putting the ball on the ground, throwing interceptions. It just was not a good week for him. And the 49ers defensive line is going to do the exact same thing to them. They're not that much worse, if at all, than the Buccaneers. Now, they have some injuries to their defensive tackles, but those guys are not so much the concern when it comes to getting to the quarterback. It's more your defensive ends. And in this case, specifically Nick Bosa, who should be able to get to Justin Fields. Justin Fields, aside from just not looking good, I think he's at a point where he cannot trust his coaches. I went back and watched that film, and I also heard from some other podcasts and things like that his coaches were telling him to do certain things and to say, hey, look, you're going to get a flag here, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And it just wasn't working out. And I'm assuming that as a rookie player, he came in and he was like, hey, I'm going to listen to my coach. Whatever they tell me to do, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to lean on their expertise and on their, just years of experience to get me through the first year. And he can't do that anymore. And I really think that the Bears are out looking for another coach already. I don't think Matt Nagy is going to be the coach next year. And on top of all that, he is sick with COVID, and it doesn't look like he's going to be able to be attending the game this week. Now, we've seen in certain instances, like with the Raiders, where John Gruden, he leaves, and the team does great afterwards, and they kind of take it on themselves to game plan and to do a lot more than your average group of players is doing. The Raiders are also a more veteran team. Guys like Derek Carr, while I might not necessarily think he's the best quarterback in the world, he has been around. He knew that plan. He knew the scheme that Gruden was using. And he really just kind of took it on himself to play with that. And that's fine. And again, that's speculation. But that is one thing that the Bears do not have. They don't have somebody that can just step in and say, okay, look, we're going to put it on us. We're going to take over as players. Maybe Bill Lazor takes over as coach, interim, I guess, for this 1 week. But I don't think that's going to be enough either. I just think that the offense is going to be too slow. The Bears' defense is fine, but they can't go out there and consistently put up points, especially not against a running team. They're not going to have a lot of opportunities for interceptions and things like that unless the offense can put pressure on the 49ers to have to make them go out and pass the ball and make them score more than they want to. So, with all of that being said, And with the updates to all the info, all the numbers, all the stats, I have the 49ers as really about 6.5 point favorites, meaning that they should be 6.5 point favorites. So right now the line is at 3. That was already looking pretty good, and I was kind of leaning towards it. But then I upgraded my personal grading report card and the coaching grades and all that kind of stuff, and it still comes out to 17-13. And even if we just play that up a little bit, and we say 17-14, that still at least gets you the push on the 3. And that's why I took it. So I have the 49ers -3 playing the Bears, and they are going to be in Chicago. That's already taken into account. This 6.5 point favorite, that's with the 2 points given to the Bears for being at home. Again, I still just don't think that's going to be enough. And if I'm being totally honest, I lean more towards the Madden score than the coaching grade for this one particular game. Usually I'm leading more towards my coaching scores from here on out throughout the rest of the season. But for this one game, I don't think this coaching grade accounts for a lot of the bad coaching, ironic enough, that's going to come with the Bears this week. I don't know what the hell they're doing. I don't know where they're trying to go with this offense. And I don't think Justin Fields can trust any decisions that come down from that coaching staff, and I think it's going to show. I think Kyle Shanahan's finally going to let us know, hey, look, I'm still a good coach. I can still get this job done, and I'm going to go out here and I'm going to beat the shit out of the Bears. And if it ends up being more of like a 24-14 game, totally in mind, and that's kind of what I have. I think that these guys, the standard deviation is going to go up for the 49ers and probably remain about even for the Bears, which gives you about a 23 or 24 point total for the 49ers and about a 14 or 13 point total for the Bears. That's where it comes out to. Those scores, basically any of those scores I just listed, not only get us the cover on the 49ers side, or at least the push at the very worst, but they also get us the under for the total. So I love both of those plays. Next, and it's really the last play for today at least, it's going to be a tease. And so the Cardinals-Packers, when this line first came out, it was at -3.5 for the Cardinals. And for the most part, that was the number everywhere. The number got taken down for a while because Davante Adams was essentially ruled out. They said, hey, he's popped up on the COVID list. And the problem is it's a Thursday night game. So they're not going to have enough time to get him basically back into the active roster by the time Thursday comes around. That being said, though, when the line came back out, it was at -6.5 for the Cardinals. And that is way too much. And it's funny because I actually just said this in yesterday's video before that COVID news came out, that if you were to lose Davante Adams on the Packers, it's not as big of a deal as losing Aaron Rodgers. Yet, it was a 3-point shift for one guy. Now, I get it. He is basically the engine of that offense. But 3 points for a non-quarterback player is a lot. I mean, a lot. There was nobody in any of my Madden algorithms, coaching algorithms, anything, aside from a quarterback, that I can change that's going to give you a 3-point shift. Any receiver, Tyreek Hill, Davante Adams, any of them, if I just took them out and put a damn 0 in, it was not going to be a 3-point shift. So for the books to make that big move, I'm not really sure what else they were looking at, or maybe what other information they got, or maybe they're just trying to scare somebody off of the Cardinals, or I have no idea. But that just was not a good number to me. That kind of says, hey, you want to look the Packers' way at the 6.5, and that's exactly what happened. We got some buyback pressure. It went from 6.5 down to 6. So as of right now, it is Packers -6. I'm sorry, Packers +6, Cardinals -6. I don't really like that number still. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the Madden algorithm has the Cardinals winning by about 4 points. My coaching algorithm has them winning by about 3 points. So you might say, hey, well, why don't we just take the Packers? We'll take the Packers +6. And that's not the worst thing in the world. If you do that, I'm not going to argue with it. I agree. There's some value in that number, if nothing else. What I don't like about that side, though, is that if the Cardinals win, the Cardinals, the Chiefs, the Rams, these are all teams I'm treating kind of similarly, in that if you lose to these teams, there's no cap as to what they're going to beat you by. In some cases, like let's say the Broncos, right? If you are the underdog to a Broncos team, you might want to tease that side because the Broncos realistically aren't going to blow somebody out of the water. If it's a half-ass decent team, they're not going to go out there and beat somebody by like 30 points. It's just not the style of play. They'll stop, they'll run the ball, they'll be really slow, they'll try to just get first downs and milk the clock and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to the Cardinals, they don't really do that. They don't know how to take their foot off the gas until they're up like 30 points, which is what happened with the Houston game last week. They got up, was like 28-3 or something like that, and they were still passing. So I don't like laying the 6 or even getting the 6 points with the Packers. The 6 is a key number. So if you wanted to do that again, I'm not going to blame you with it. And if you just really think, hey, I just think the Packers are going to win, I think Aaron Jones and Aaron Rodgers are going to be enough to stay in the game with this Cardinals, fine. The other thing, though, is I do not bet on hope. So if you are looking at these numbers and you're telling me, hey, look, I know the numbers are there and I get the black and white stuff, but I just think and I hope that Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones are good enough to stay in contention with this Cardinals team. I don't think they can win, but I think they can stay close. I'm not doing that. I'm not ever going to bet on a dog I don't think at least has some sort of chance to win, and I don't give the Packers much, if any, chance to win this game. And I also don't want to say we're going to take the +6 when I know the Cardinals can beat anybody by double digits at any given time, and they're not going to call off the dogs until that win is like cemented and in the books. That's why I'm not taking the Packers side. But I do feel very comfortable in teasing the Cardinals down to a pick. If everybody is in agreement here that, yeah, the Cardinals are the side to play, the Cardinals should be winning this game, more than 60% of the time, I want to get these Cardinals down to a pick 'em. So I'm taking the Cardinals and I'm teasing them down to 0. The other end of that tease, though, might be a little bit of a surprise, but it is the Colts. And it's going to be the Colts up to +7.5. So a few things about this Colts team. One, they have been consistently getting better. I said this at the beginning of the year, and I said it a few times throughout the year, and I'm going to say it again right now. They started off slow. They always start off slow. Frank Reich always starts off slow. And then he progressively gets better. He uses the numbers, he uses the stats, he watches film, and he knows to pick on his opponent's weaknesses. And that's why he's been able to stay in games with the Ravens. That's why he was able to win last week. The Colts are just a very good team, and they have a very good coach that is going to continually get better. They're going to continually get stronger. Their numbers reflect that. Their DVOA has gone up on all the offensive side of the ball for the last 2 weeks. The defensive DVOA has been better the last 2 weeks. Everything is progressively getting better here. Not only are they getting better, but they are also catching the Titans at a kind of a bad spot. I think a lot of people are in agreement that the Titans are quote unquote due for a letdown game after they beat the Bills and then they beat the Chiefs. I don't necessarily buy that so much. I think that it's not a letdown because this Titans team understands this is a divisional game. This isn't like, we're playing the Jaguars this week. Or some team that they can just easily walk over and beat in their sleep. This is a team they need to take seriously. This is probably their main competition for winning the division. And I don't believe in these letdown games. These guys are professionals. They're getting paid millions of dollars. And if that's not enough to motivate your ass to get out and play, I don't really know what else is. So all of that being said, what I do believe in is that the Colts are a very unique matchup for the Titans. And they are a very different matchup. But the style of play from the Bills to the Chiefs is not, I don't want to say similar, I don't want to say the same, but it's close enough to where you don't tweak your game plan too much. This Colts team is totally different. With the Bills and the Chiefs, you don't have any real rushing threat. You didn't have a huge running back there, or somebody that you were concerned is going to go off for over 100 yards. And the Colts not only have Jonathan Taylor, they are using him more and more now, and they're using him more effectively. They just got Quentin Nelson, their left guard, back. They just have everything set up for them in this one. Now, they did lose the first game. Usually, I like playing the loser of the first game to win the second matchup, or at least to cover the spread in the second matchup. In this particular scenario, It's been exactly 5 weeks since these teams last played. The Titans did win the last one. So when it is a 5-week spread, the winner of game 1 actually does cover the spread 58% of the time. So odds are they're probably going to, quote, cover this spread. But it's a 1-point spread, which just means that they're probably going to win the game. But it should be a very close game. And I personally think that the Colts do have a chance to pull off this upset. There is that other 42% of the time when, the winner of game 1 doesn't win. So let's step back for a second and let me make sure that I kind of drill that home. When I bring up probability and I say 58% of the time, I know a lot of the times, and I know because I've been on the other end, I've been the one listening to this podcast or whatever, and I'm like, damn, 58% of the time, you can't lose. You got to kind of cut that out right now, because 58% of the time is exactly that. There is 42% of the other times that does lose. And the Colts, I think, are going to be into that category. I do believe they can pull off the win outright. The Madden algorithm does have them as about a 2-point favorite, actually. So this algorithm says that they should be favorites in this game. Now, a lot of that is because they are at home, and they're getting the 2 points for the home field advantage. Another note for that, though, is that whenever you have a home dog, home dogs cover more frequently than any other type of teased bet, right? So, like, there's home dog, away dog, home favorite, away favorite, all that kind of stuff. But whenever you're teasing bets or teasing teams, the home dog is the best team to tease up if you can. And this is exactly what we're doing here. Those teams usually cover the tease at about a 68 to 70% rate. So it's a great play as far as just straight numbers are concerned. Secondly, though, even if we go off of my coaching grades here, the Titans are really only expected to win by about 4 points. It comes out to 23 to 20, let's say 28, so 5 points. But if we make these more quote unquote common numbers, this is more of like a 24 or maybe a 21 for the Colts if you really wanted to round it down. And for the Titans, it's a 28 basically, right? So either way, 7 points is about the maximum win margin that I have right now for the Titans, assuming that they win, which right now the tease is getting us to plus 7.5. So we are getting that key number. So on both sides of this tease, we're getting great key numbers. On the Cardinals, we're getting the 6. We are getting the 3, and we're getting it down to a pick 'em. The Colts, we're doing the other end of that. We're getting it from the 1.5 through the 3, through the 6, through the 7 to the 7.5. So it is a great team to tease. Even if you don't want to follow me exactly with this one and you don't want to tease the Cardinals, if you have one leg that you really like of a teaser, I would encourage you to strongly look at this Colts team and possibly tease it if you have another leg that you want to add to it. So those are the 2 extra picks, guys. I do have the coaching algorithm that was updated with all the numbers and DVOAs and all that kind of stuff. If you want to just take a quick look at this here, and again, obviously these are always free. And so I apologize. I know somebody had sent me a request for this sheet last week. I'd be happy to give it to you, but I think that in that one you didn't leave your email address. And so obviously I need something. So if you want to message me back on that one, or if anybody is watching this and you want a copy of this sheet, just let me know. Just put it in the comments below. Hey, I want a copy of this, and put in your email address, or your Twitter, or your Facebook, or whatever you feel comfortable with, and I would be happy to give this to you guys. Again, it's all totally free, so no issues there. I'm not going to try to spam you with anything. As far as just rankings, though, and again, keep in mind, this is really to grade the coach as well as to grade the expected points for that team and with that coach, meaning that, hey, how aggressive or how soft is this coach going to be? We have power rankings of the Rams in first, Buccaneers second, Cardinals, Raiders, Chiefs, Packers, Chargers, Ravens, Titans, Bills, Saints, Cowboys, and then Bengals are the 13th team. So that's top 13, or you can keep going from there if you want to. After that, it is Washington and then the Colts. If you want the rest of this, like I said, feel free. Just send me the email. I'll get it out to you. Also, though, again, these expected points, keep in mind this is within one standard deviation. So if you're not familiar with that or what standard deviation is, just think of like a bell curve, a big bell, like a big loop. At the very tippy top here would be this score. So for the Rams, it's about, let's round it to say 36 points. Any given week, we would expect them to either hit exactly that or be within a touchdown either direction of this score, meaning that they could go up to 43 or down to 29, but somewhere in there, that's going to be their standard deviation and their average score. That's what we are expecting, and that's really what this is for. But secondly, it is to grade, again, the coaches and how good we think they are, how effective they are at game planning for their team and scheming, and some aggressiveness as well, as far as like, hey, is this team going to go for it on certain plays? The Chiefs usually are a pretty good team offensively, and that's why they're still up here. Their EDSR is still 60%. They still have a great offense. They've just run into a lot of little bumps and bruises along the way, had a lot of turnovers and issues, and that's why their performance on the field has not equated to how good this grade is. But just remember, this is an objective number that says, yes, the Chiefs are still actually good. They've just run into kind of a bad stretch here, and they've had some things break against them. Lastly, one thing I wanted to mention to you, and I have said this a couple times now, but I've had some questions on, hey, how come the Bills aren't higher in your power rankings? They're a great team. This is why. This one score win percentage is a huge indicator when it comes to really good teams. So if you'll notice, the top, 4 teams all have a perfect 100 in the one-score game win percentage. So, again, just want to show you that to you guys. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you have learned something. Probably not going to have a video tomorrow, but we will have 2 more Thursday and Friday just to wrap up the week and look at some line moves and all that kind of stuff. So, hopefully you guys will follow me with the picks. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that other good stuff below. Appreciate you listening to this. Have a great week and have a great day.